Good morning! It is Sunday and we are headed home. It was such a good weekend. We came up here Friday. We rushed, got our hair done. Casey and I both looking good, looking sharp.
Nice and
Casey
short.
almost tried to do a new haircut, and our friend who cuts his hair was like, if you don't love it, come back. And he totally ended up coming back because he's had the same haircut for the past, how many years do you think?
Since I was a little kid.
Seriously.
All about the buzz cut,
And
low maintenance.
He tried to go like shorter on the sides and taller on top, or longer on top, and it wasn't.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. We're gonna slowly get out of this phase of getting the same haircut. But anyways, yeah, yesterday Casey hung out with his dad, had such a good time. They went and watched college football, all the bowl games, and I went and photographed a gorgeous wedding. We had so much fun. Today we are driving home. 6 hours, yay. So this is one of the nice parts for Casey and I about having the coffee shop and about having such awesome employees and managers is because we can take off like this for the weekend to go run our other business, which is my photography business. And we don't have to stress too much about what's going on. We know that the shop is going to function. We know that if they need anything, that the managers are going to take care of it. We still stress. Like yesterday I was at the wedding and I wear an Apple Watch and I could hear the employees talking to each other in our group messaging system, and so definitely my heart still races a little bit every time I felt my watch go off and I felt like, what's going on at the coffee shop? I knew ultimately that they had it all taken care of. So one way that we like to kill time if we're traveling on a Sunday, Patriots game. Casey and I are huge Patriots football fans, so it's hard to miss a Sunday game when we're driving. So while we have service, we always see if we can get the game at least on the radio or watch the game live. Lovely Idaho weather. Woo! These drives are always so fun. Thank goodness I'm a professional driver.
Oh yeah.
So we just drove through McCall, Idaho, and it's a place that is so near and dear to our hearts because it's actually where Casey took me on our first date. We both worked at a radio station together, and I was the quiet one and Casey was the loud one. And I would be in the back room by myself working on boards and stuff where I would shut the door and I would just be in there alone. And Casey would just open my door. He wouldn't even ask, he'd just open the door. And he'd always be like, hi, what are you doing? What are you doing this weekend? And he always cracked me up because he was so outgoing and I was so shy. And he asked me to go snowboarding with him. I was still in high school and he was a freshman in college. And he asked
was 18.
I was 18. But
I am 1 month.
but he asked me to go snowboarding over my Christmas break, and I told him I was really bad, but that I actually had a season pass to Brundage. And so he invited me, and I said I would have to ask my dad, which meant no. But I don't, to this day, still don't know why I actually did ask my dad if I could go. And my dad said, well, are you dating any of these boys, or do you have a crush on any of these boys? And I was like, heck no, because I just didn't know I would fall in love with him. And so my brother and I told Casey I'd go, but I told him that I had to have my brother go with me. So we piled up in the car one night and we drove down to Brundage, and here we are. Yeah, so Brundage Mountain and just McCall in general, they hold a really near and dear place to our hearts just because it's kind of where our story began.
And the pizza place. We went on our first date.
Yeah.
We went to dinner. That was our first real dinner date was New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it was New Year's Eve. I forgot about that.
I think it was 8 years ago tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess 8 years.
So sometimes we still sit in the same booth.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Like we go back because we go to McCall all the time. So it's fun though.
We were just talking to our friends that actually have that cabin, the Crawfords, and we had passed them on the highway just like 30 minutes ago. They were headed home from skiing. They always go for a Christmas trip up there to go skiing, and Melinda had said to us, you guys need to make time to go skiing and snowboarding again. And that's one of the things that with owning our own business is we've gone through phases. I would say there was a point about 2 years ago where the business was pretty comfortable and we had just consistency, and so we actually did go snowboarding quite a bit again, and we'd go up to McCall quite a bit. But the past year and a half, 2 years, we've been so much busier with this growing phase. And so we actually haven't been. Last year we went snowboarding one time. And that was really only because we had friends out from Florida and we wanted to take them. They'd never seen snow before. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it just takes so much more preparation to leave town, and it almost takes the same amount of preparation to leave town for 3 days as it does for a week. So a lot of times to go through all that trouble to make sure the shop is completely dialed in, ready to go for us to be gone, and everything's stocked up and ready. And because a lot of times when we run out of stuff, we just take care of it, or when we need change or different things like that, deposits, we just have to make sure all that gets done before we leave, just like we did for this trip. Even though we were gone for like 2 or 3 days.
At the most, yeah.
Yeah, but it just takes a lot of work to leave town, so a lot of times we just would rather relax.
But we know that we would love, I guess, to find time again to go and to make time for those fun trips. It's hard. We've been kind of homebodies, I would say, lately, just because with my photography in this summer, we are traveling every single weekend. So our schedule looks like this. We worked Tuesday through Friday. Friday we would get in the car and we'd drive. Saturday I'd have a wedding for 10 hours that day. Sunday we'd get back in the car and drive all the way home. Monday we would take the day off, but our day off was the bank and the post office. It was cleaning our house. It was any appointments that we had. It was running by the shop to make sure they were okay. And it was such a crazy day that Monday that we never really even got a break. And then we'd start back over and do it again. And so in the summers with my wedding photography, we literally go months without really taking a day to just chill or hang out. And so come winter time, we kind of just hibernate as much as possible just so that we can rest up and kind of catch up on life, I guess.
I think it'll get easier with time. I know it'll get easier with time because you do it enough times and you just kind of figure it out. But we definitely have not mastered it by any means. So a lot of it we just wing it, hope for the best. I'm sure when we get done with this, we'll hope we did something a little bit different. But for the most part, luckily we have over 5 years of experience in this industry, so we have a very good idea of where things need to go and how the workflow of the shop needs to be.
The customers have this expectation that we're going to be as good as the really big names like Starbucks and Dutch Brothers. You know, they expect us to have the same amount of products, the same prices on our products. They expect us to have the same customer service and this image, but they forget that we're just kids, 27, 26 years old, and we have no one guiding us. You know, for Starbucks, they have these huge corporate offices and they have this plan and this guideline. We talked to some employees that have worked at Starbucks before, and they talk about the policy handbook, and they talk about even just the questions, like if someone orders a weird drink and they don't know what to do, there's literally a handbook with the answer inside of that handbook. And so for us, the expectation for the customers is that we should be the same, if not better. And so for us, though,
a much smaller budget.
Yeah, we have such a smaller budget, and we have no one helping us. So I do feel like we present ourselves very well. I do feel like we've worked our butts off to make sure that we have a great image and that our business is professional and looks good and tastes good and customer service is good. But I feel like we almost do have to work a little bit harder than some of those big places because we don't have the same available resources to us. For instance, the other day, someone was wondering why our cups, our new flasks, were $25. And what I don't understand is that Dutch Bros buys in such quantity that their cost of that cup is so much less than ours. We have to spend probably double what they do because the quantity that we buy is inevitably going to be way less than theirs.
Yeah, and a lot of people tell us, they'll come through and say, you know what you should do? You should get an app like Starbucks where I can place my order and just come pick it up. And they don't understand, like, of course we've already thought of this. Like, this is nothing new that we haven't looked at and said, wouldn't that be cool? But a lot of people don't understand that an app like Starbucks, I don't even want to begin to guess, but I would probably guess it's over $1 million to get an app that's like that
and to maintain
and then so integrated. And then when you have app issues, you have to constantly have maintenance. You have to have someone that can work on your app. and fix those bugs. And that's why you get updates on your apps, is because they fix things, and they're constantly fixing them because your app is constantly having problems. So you're having to pay someone to do that, and that's not cheap. So that just, when you're this small, it absolutely does not make sense to do something like that. And we've talked about other things that we can do that would be more affordable, like online ordering, or different things that we know we could do. We've talked about it for years now, but it's just when we decided we want to integrate that, and 3 people a day take advantage of it, it's not worth our time to manage it and take care of it and fix all the issues and update it all the time. And so we have to, as you get bigger, you can afford, and it makes more sense to do those things. It's like advertising or getting a billboard, for example. You would, if you have one location and get a billboard, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if you have 2 locations in the same town, that billboard doesn't cost any more, but you're getting double the exposure. So you have 1 billboard, but you have 2 locations now. So advertising goes a lot further the more locations you have, because they don't charge you based on how many locations you have. They just charge you one flat fee. So if you have 10 locations in one town and you advertise on the radio, you're getting a pretty good bang for your buck, versus if you have 1 location, because the radio advertising is not going to be any different price. So
this year we tried to really step up our branding and just step up our game in general, I think. And it's been awesome, and we've seen it pay off. But little things like our custom coffee sleeves, we had to pay a graphic designer to do those. Then we had to order them. And I mean, it's funny to tell you guys this, but in order to get them down to a price that made sense for us, we had to order
37,000 sleeves.
I thought it was 128,000.
Oh, no, it was it was, but per design. So we have 5 designs, and there's like 34 or 35,000 per design. So times 5, it was 150,000 sleeves.
So our garage at our house, you guys, there's an entire line.
It's a whole wall.
A whole wall of these boxes of sleeves. And this is so comical but frustrating. We moved houses, so we moved the sleeves over to our new house, and that took forever. And we organized them and put them all away. And now we just were able to afford a new storage building for Barista. So now we've been procrastinating, but we need to take them again from our house and move them back to the storage building. And I think part of the reason we haven't done it is just because we're frustrated that we've already moved these stupid boxes of sleeves. But that's what we had to do to get the price to where we can afford it.
And we're going through them. I mean, it'll take maybe a year and a half to go through all those, which is pretty awesome. I mean, we're that busy that we can go through them like that. But we have to buy that product, spend thousands of dollars, and then sit on it for a year and a half. And then when we place the next order, we're going to have to do that all over again. So sometimes, quantity always seems to be the key when you are in business. But when you're a small business owner like we are, we don't get the breaks that the big ones do. Like Starbucks buys coffee. They buy hundreds of thousands of pounds at a time. We don't buy anywhere near that, obviously. So Starbucks coffee costs more than ours does, but their profit margins are significantly higher than ours because they can buy things so cheap. And so here we are lowering our prices cheaper than theirs, and our cost of goods are significantly higher than theirs. So it's just how it is. When you're a small business owner, it's hard. Yeah, like Starbucks, I commend them for this, but they offer programs for their employees to be able to get college tuition help. They offer scholarships. They offer benefits for their employees. They offer free drinks all the time, and that's super cool, and I totally admire that. But it's hard, like I told you guys before, that expectation that your customers and that your employees have, because they're like, well, Starbucks does it this way, which is awesome, and if we could afford to do that, that would be great. But being so small, we don't have that same ability. We don't have that same power. Like Casey said, our profit margins as a coffee shop are significantly lower than what Dutch Bros and Starbucks and other big names. It's a small business owner struggle. As you guys can tell, we're talking about business on a car trip. Shocker. Always. I told you guys, we literally plan our whole lives. Like, this is all we do on car trips. We just talk and talk and talk, and we come up with ideas, and we talk about our lives, and we talk a lot about what goals we have for the next year. Is there any goals that you feel like you want to share that you've personally set for the next year? Personal goal of mine would be to step back more and not be so owner operated, be involved with the business, on a daily basis, but not being like as it is right now. As you guys know, if you've seen our other vlogs, we are waking up at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. She wakes up about 4. I get up a little bit later. But anyway, we're going in and working these early morning shifts. If something were to go wrong, we can't leave. If something were to happen, like with 2 locations, if one location needs something, if we're doing the schedule we are right now, we can't just leave because there's only 3 of us in the morning right now, sometimes 4. So I can't just up and leave and go help the other shop. So what my goal would be to step back more and be involved, be at the business, be there working, but be there helping more rather than actually being on the schedule and working.
I think that's been a huge struggle of mine because this was my dream and the coffee shop has been my baby since day one. I have been there since day one, and I'm the one who wrote our original business plan. I mean, this has been my entire life. There's always this underlying stress for me that I worry that if I step back or if I'm not there or if we have multiple locations, I always stress about how is the vision of Barista going to continue to grow and continue to multiply and continue to be everything that I want it to be. There is such a beautiful thing about our business, about how we help others and about how our customer service and the girls' smiles, and granted, we're not always perfect. We're humans. Our girls come to work and they have bad days, or they have a fight with their husband, or their kids were awful and didn't sleep the night before. We deal with it all because we're humans, but we're expected to deal with it in a way that's always perfect and always great. And I would say 98% of the time we do, and the girls do an amazing job. But I do stress so much about growth and about how as we grow, we're going to continue to keep that vision. I'm a super type A personality, so I'm the person that makes lists for my lists, and I love having control. And so leading into 2 coffee shops has been a big challenge for me personally because I'm letting go of a lot of control, and I'm learning to let others take over tasks for me. I've been learning to delegate some tasks that are absolutely necessary. Stepping back, like Casey has said, I think is harder on me than it is for him because he doesn't necessarily make coffee. So for me, when I hear drink complaints or when I hear someone didn't make it right, I have this part of me that just wants to take over. And I know that's not a good thing. That's actually a bad thing for me to always want to take over because I'm not allowing my employees to grow and to learn on their own. And so it's been a growing process for me, a lot for me. And like Casey said, he wants us to step back, not be there. It's almost like saying stepping back is a bad thing. It's not like we want to just go sit at my ties in the Bahamas and hang out and not work.
It would be nice.
It would be nice. That'd be wonderful. But actually, instead, we're going to step back, but we're going to step in more. We don't necessarily, like Casey said, want to be on the schedule from 5 a.m. till 11 a.m. But instead, we'd like to go in there at our leisure, but actually probably work more than we do now. It's just in a different sense of how we do it now. Right now, we're on shift. Right now, we're there. Right now, we're expected to be at work. And I want to be expected to be at work, but I want to do it on our time where we're able to do more. So it's going to be a weird year for us. I'm excited for 2019.
Stay tuned because we don't even know what's going to happen.
I would lie if I said I'm not nervous and I'm not anxious.
It's a big deal. Doubling a business, it'll be with overnight. One day we will have 1 coffee shop and it'll be bittersweet because as we wake up the next morning, we'll have 2. And hopefully, if everything goes the way it should, we will never have 1 ever again. We will always have more than 1. But it's kind of bittersweet because you're closing a chapter to the life as you knew it for the last 5.5 years of just managing 1 coffee shop to now double the employees, double the maintenance on the equipment, double the headache, because that's what happens.
It's already been a transition, I would say, for us in our business, because when we first opened, it was me, and then it was 1 employee, and then it was 3 employees, then it was 5, and we were able to, like I said, that how we were able to go to McCall almost every weekend there for a while. We were in this sweet spot where the business was busy, but it wasn't overly busy. We had 6 employees. Those girls were like family to one another. They all got along so well, and the business, it was kind of easy for just a little bit.
We didn't have a lot of rules.
No, like we didn't have policies or handbook. Like they just knew, you know.
They had rules,
it was
but
small.
they were pretty.
Everyone just
basic.
was easy, and then we grew and we grew and we grew, and now we have 15 employees, and we're kind of at this point where I would say our employees still love one another and care about one another, but once you start to get to about 15, now cliques have started, and now we have policies, and we have handbooks, and we have write-ups, and there are rules. There are legitimate rules that these girls have to follow, and it has been a hard transition for the girls who've been with us.
For 3 years.
Yeah, that small 3 to 5 employee group. Now all of a sudden they're like, what the heck? Why do I have rules now? And why do I have to follow all these policies? And it's been an odd transition for them, and I understand why it's been a hard transition for them. And I can imagine it would be weird to work for a company that started out just so lax and do whatever and just show up to work and we're happy, to now dress codes and policies, and it has been weird, but at the same time, taking a step back, we couldn't grow if we weren't learning how to do these things.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, we talked your ears off. I'm sorry. I hope you guys are learning some stuff from us, though. We want to share our life.
If you've made it this far, I'm impressed.
Woo!
I hope you have. I hope you're interested enough in knowing what it's really like, because we make it look easy, I feel like. Just like pro athletes, they just make it look easy, and you don't see the years and years of practices and the training and the workouts and all the things that go into making them as talented as they are. Not say we're that talented, but it's true that it looks like it just happens, and you pull up to a store. It's like go to a grocery store, and things are just on the shelf, and you just, every time you go there, that's what it's like. So you just feel like they just pop out of nowhere, and it's just magic. But the process to get that item from start to finish, it is so time consuming and so stressful.
There's even been stuff so far on this vlog journey where we've wanted to be so open with you guys and show you guys everything, but yet there are times that we've had to cut stuff out that I wish we could share, because I think that it would show you guys even more of what we deal with, and even more of our stress, and even more of the reasons we don't sleep at night. And I think I've already cried at least once over the past week because of the business, but I wasn't able to share that. And I want to respect our privacy in our lives, and also respect our employees and their families and everything. So there's just going to be stuff that we're not going to share with you that I wish you could see, so that you could see even more of the reality of owning a small business. And it's like Casey and I said, I hope that this vlog doesn't come off as depressing. It's not meant to be depressing.
No, like life is good.
It's good, and we
Life
have
is
a
good,
lot of
and
fun.
it's very rewarding. And if it wasn't worth it, we wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, we would not own a business
We
if it
wouldn't keep
wasn't
doing
worth it. But
Sometimes though, it's some days you wonder why you do it, but then the next day it's better. Some days are good, some days are bad, as we've talked about. But there was a while, I think it's a lot better now. It is a lot better, but there was a period where I always said it's 51% worth it, 49% not worth it. It was just barely worth it enough to keep doing it, because working for someone else is way easier sometimes.
Yeah.
Unless you hate working for them, but you can always just up and go to a new job. Like, we can't do that. If we up and leave, we still own all this property, we still own all this equipment, we still employ all these people, so we have to always keep going. And you're married to it. I'll always say that. You're married to your business, and anyone who owns their own business, if you ask them, especially if they have a business that isn't solely owner-operated like the photography business, and you have employees, you are so married to that business, you can't get away. You could be 2,000 miles away on the other side of the country, you still own a business, and you're still responsible for it. They always talk about grinding and grinding and grinding. Well, we've grinded a long time, and you will get burnt out. And when you get burnt out, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to basically step back and give up, or you're going to continue to go. And that's what we've done. Put the pedal to the metal, don't let up.
one of the things that Casey and I've noticed so much is that we have seen people start businesses and they have been so gung-ho from the start. And we've been like, kudos to you guys, like have a blast, enjoy this process. And 6 months later, that business is closed. They fizzle out.
Or they just stop working it. And then they hire a bunch of people to do it for them. And the business eventually will just start going downhill. If you're not involved, it will go downhill. So don't ever think you're just going to start a business. 2 years later, you're going to be able to walk away and live this really awesome life, and you're just going to make a ton of money, and you're going to have all these employees doing everything for you, and life will be easy, because I don't know anyone that has been able to do that. But that seems to be the perception a lot of people have of business ownership. We hear it all the time. Well, it must be nice, be your own boss.
Make your own schedule.
Must be nice. And you're like, yeah, it's. I can see why you might think that. But
watch our vlog from Thursday.
Yeah.
You'll see that our day started at 4 a.m. and did not end until almost midnight. And we were going and going and going that entire time. We stopped for lunch one time, and it was at a fast food restaurant.
Yeah, and that's what making your own schedule looks like. You make your own schedule, all right, and it's a lot longer days usually than someone who just works for someone else 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's just different. It's so different. You make your own schedule, all right, but if you don't do what needs to be done, which you're going to find yourself sacrificing like we do, your nights, your weekends, your holidays, if you don't do that, the business starts to fall apart. And if you're okay with that, well, maybe you do make your own schedule, but most businesses where I see people do that, they fail.
But I hope you guys are learning a lot, and I hope that as we bring you along this journey that you guys are seeing the reality of life, and maybe it's inspiring you to want to start a business. Maybe it's inspiring you to never want to have to do this.
If you're on the fence, I'm actually curious. I'd actually like to know if you've made it this far in the video. I'm actually curious to see if you would, comment and let us know if you were on the fence of whether or not you wanted to start a business or not. Do you feel more apt to or less apt to?
All right, here's the deal. We just got home from our trip, and when I walked in the house, the first thing that I did is I walked over to our couch and I fixed all of our pillows.
She didn't fix them.
I fixed our pillows. Mm-hmm. I have to show you guys. Hold on. Precisely why I always am fixing these pillows. Chloe, I just fixed the pillows.
No, Chloe, look, she did just what you did. She absolutely destroyed it.
Here's the thing. All of the interior design bloggers that I follow always fluff up their pillows. And once they get them all fluffed up, they do a little small karate chop to make the pillows look the best. Obviously, ignore Chloe's job right here. She always squishes my pillows. Okay, so I came home and I started karate chopping the pillows. And as I'm doing it, Casey's like, why do you keep doing that? We need to fix our pillows and make them flat.
This is how they're supposed to look. This is what a pillow was made to do. They didn't sew it into a V, but Bree comes home and she's like, oh, that does not look good. There it is. That is how it should look. That's
baby shark karate chop it.
Just look at it.
Baby shark karate chop.
No, you're like, oh, looks good.
Listen, I don't know why designers do it. I don't know why the designers do it, but the designers never have flat pillows, okay?
Listen,
they have just a tiny chop.
The designers don't know what they're doing.
No, they do. That's why they have a job.
No, I think they're like, let's be unique.
This is a genuine fight in our house. This is not fake. This is not made up. We have been arguing over this for the past several hours. And I vote chopped. And I get the say. Because if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
I just keep flattening them out.
And I keep chopping.